Gridiron fanatics. Glad you could join us for the off-season edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Where we gab about all things pro football, from the scoops of the regular season to the scores of the postseason and the picks in the off-season. Let's start gabbing.
The autumn winds move like the thunderous waves of Neptune's sacred palace. And here, amongst the blackened soil, lies the ragged hands, worn, torn, and callous. They await with cunning and vicious prowess, for the warriors have returned.
Come on, Dirt! Don't do it! Woo! No way! Woo! 85! Crying out loud! You're making me, you're driving me nuts!
But behold,
Welcome back, you guys. Glad you could join us here as we continue our off-season edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style, featuring the Chicago Bears. I am, of course, Mr. CeeLo. Just want to welcome you back here, and if you are Chicago fans, you guys have to be excited or sitting on the edge of your seats wondering what's going to happen with this offseason, as it could be one of the most anticipated or disappointing offseason that you guys are having to deal with. And of course, your boy Mr. CeeLo's got you hooked. Well, the first thing that most people are going to decide is, more than likely want to know about, is what are the Bears going to do with Justin Fields? Well, I'm going to say this, and I think their decision needs to come better. I'm just going to go on the record and say that the Bears would be better off making this decision earlier rather than later, much like they did last season when they made that trade with the Carolina Panthers. Reason being, you need to get a gauge on what the market value of Justin Fields is. And now, I'm not saying that if you wait later and later that you're not going to get a what I like to call just a last minute rush to make this happen. You've got a lot of teams that are sitting further back there wondering. Now, the quarterback in the draft, the quarterback field in the draft is pretty deep in my opinion. But however, a lot of your quarterbacks on that back end come with a lot of risk, as much as even the top two picks in my opinion. And no, not Drake May. Drake May has too many questions for me. Now, I will go on record as saying, you guys, that, when you look at Will Levis, the way he played at the end of the season, I may be incorrect about that guy. So, but that still has yet to be seen. But I'm not sold on Drake May. I'm just not. Too many bad decisions and too many situations. In pivotal situations, I might say. But, however, you're looking at teams that are possibly going to want to move up in the draft to take one of these top three guys. I say it's a four-way race. Undoubtedly, you got to throw in the guy that you're not seeing. Caleb Williams does come with a couple of question marks, as does Drake May, for obvious reasons, in my opinion. Jalen Daniels is a very, very good prospect, and I'm not sure what I'm not really sure what the Bears are going to be looking for as far as what's the measuring stick for Justin Fields in comparison to the guys that are in the draft. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, when it comes to Fields, and I understand this is from a financial standpoint, I totally do, and you're in your third year, and I'm going to be honest with you, to take a step of faith and pay Justin Fields like a 5 on or picking up his 5th-year option and saying that this is a guy that we trust our franchise with and pay him like one of the top 5 quarterbacks, which is right around $35 to $40 million. That's a lot. Well, no, that's incorrect. I think it's like $45 to $50 million. So you're talking about Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and these guys were getting dang near in excess of $50 million. So you really have to make a decision. And I understand exactly what the Bears are thinking about, because you can click the switch and hit a reboot. And for a minute there, I was thinking about Justin Fields and the improvements he's made and the type of gifts that he has. But on the flip side, you're looking at Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels. All 3 of these guys, you can flip the reset button and you're not obligated to pay him like a top 5, top 10 type of quarterback, which he has not proven that he is. He's a very special talent, and I know a lot of people around him are going to be ecstatic, very influential in trying to keep him around here. But I think from a business perspective, this is one of those where you just kind of have to go through the motions and find out what is what. And honestly, there's not going to be a large market for Justin Fields. I just think at the end of the day, he has not shown enough. He's not done enough to command a 1st-round pick. Now, I'm not saying somebody won't throw that out there. I'm not saying that somebody will not throw that out there for the Bears. I would say what's realistic is a 2nd, maybe a 3rd. It's going to be they may get a couple of picks. I would say more like a package of a 1st and a 3rd, or maybe 2 seconds, or maybe a 2nd here or a 1st next year, something of that magnitude. But I think what will probably happen is they'll get a 2nd rounder, and more than likely this will pave the way for the Bears to make a move and get this quarterback situation resolved. Now, the question that I have, and honestly, I thought about this a multitude of different ways. If the Bears were to keep Justin Fields and trade out of that pick, because that would make sense. But then again, you also eliminate yourself from getting a major weapon here. Now, do I think there's a large difference between Malik Daniels and Rome Odunze and Marvin Harrison Jr.? No, not really. But I will say it is a huge injustice to one Rome Odunze if you look and you think that, well, to me this is a no-brainer. To me, this is a no-brainer. In a lot of ways, financially, this makes a lot of sense. Now, what kind of effect it's going to have on the team, that's a different story. But I think when you're talking about the monies that are involved here, and I think that's what people have to look at here, as I alluded to before, is the amount of money that Justin Fields would get if they franchise tagged him after his 5th-year option, after his 5th-year option. And I'm going to be honest with you, of that $49 million that they're going to have this year, and then of course it's more than likely going to go up going into next season. But you have to look that you're going to get 2 first-round picks. You're going to get the number 1 pick and the number 10 spot. And honestly, they need help up front, whether it's on the defensive line or the offensive line. Not so much as the defensive line, I would say. I was really say, yeah, they need another guy to go on the opposite side of Montez Sweat. And Yannick Ngakoue was supposed to come in and be that guy, and he just was not. Justin Jones was a pretty good filler in that area. And what's got to happen is you got to get somebody on the other side of Montez Sweat that can put that same kind of pressure on the quarterback. because these guys have a pretty good secondary. They really do. Their secondary is, they're not elite, but they're pretty darn good. You know, you've got Jalen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson both have interceptions, and Jalen Johnson becomes a free agent. So you know there's going to be some money that's tied up in this guy. Of that $49 million, you're probably going to have to give up anywhere from $10 to $15 million. That's probably what his market is going to command. Now, you signed up Montez Sweat to a big $105 million deal. So that's a good deal for you guys. The thing that I look at and I think about when I look at this defense is like I said, there is no pressure. And then you gave away Roquan Smith to the Ravens, and you really haven't had that type of presence at the linebacker position, which on occasion your running game has been, your run defense has been leaky. Tremaine Edmonds has still continued to be a presence in that linebacking core along with TJ Edwards, who's come along. And you have to go along and look and say, can we do better on this side of the ball? Can we improve? And honestly, when you have these kind of guys that are coming back, which all of your linebackers are coming back, whereas you have guys like Lucas Patrick, you look on the offensive side, well, you do need to get Justin Jones re-signed. So you already know this guy's going to command some bang. And I think people just probably looking around the $9 to $11 million mark. So you can count on some of that coming down. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a major negotiation deal with Yannick Ngakoue because of how he took a step back this season. And as we see Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis as well on offense, they'll be free agents, which is kind of surprising to me. I'm sorry I jumped around a little bit. I'm just kind of looking at this free agent page. The number of tight ends that the Bears have, I've got to see some better play calls. I've got to see some better play calls out of Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus. You know, these guys got to call better on plays. When you got that many tight ends, there's no reason for these guys to not be making plays. DJ Moore had 96 grabs for 1,364 yards. Great. Cole Kmet had 73 grabs on 90 targets. Where's Robert Tonyan? 11 grabs. Where's Mercedes Lewis? 4 grabs. You got 3 top tight ends, and I'm going to be honest with you. Mercedes Lewis is at the end of his career. I will say that. But here's the thing. Guy still at 39 years old still has the ability to make plays. Not big plays, but, plays. And then you've got Colin Johnson, a guy who's 6'6", 222. 6'6", 222. Ain't no excuse in calling some deep bombs just to throw down the field to Colin Johnson. That's kind of what he's made his living on. Didn't mean to jump around, you guys. I get excited when I start looking at certain things. And even they got Equanimeous St. Brown, 6'5", 214. Just, unbelievable size that they have on this team. And like I said, some of it's the play calling, in my opinion. That's just me. I'm a firm believer. You tell them, hey, look, throw that thing up and let your big guys take a shot at it. But as I was saying earlier, we're looking at the pending free agents that they have to sign. And with that $49 million that they have available, this doesn't look really hard. But as I said before, you got the running back, which I'm kind of on the fence about D'Onta Foreman coming back. I would say, leave it be, let it go, because you really didn't use him exceptionally well. But the beautiful thing is you've got Rashawn Johnson out of Texas, who's a hoss, an absolute hoss out of the backfield. And as I said, he was 4th in rushing on your team. Not far behind from D'Onta Foreman. So you can manage that. Now, however, the big deal in the wide receiver room is what I'm talking about. Either way, you've got to make a move at wide receiver. And I know a lot of people are going to say tackle and this, that, and that because the wide receiver room is exceptionally deep this year. Well, both positions are actually are very deep this year, and that's what I'm about to look at. And just looking at this, you've got, like I said, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, and Troy Franklin, which I'm not a huge fan of Troy Franklin. But I am, however, a huge fan of Rome Odunze. Like I said, Malik Neighbors is very, very good. He reminds me of a taller version of Jamar Chase. He was just so good. But I will say, when you're looking at a guy like DJ Moore who's not sized, but you need to get a big guy. Now, I will say this. The Bears could be sneaky with their money that they have available and put free agent T. Higgins on notice. Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's real as it feels. They could very well make a move for one T. Higgins. Now, here's the other thing. Like I've said, people are saying that the best fits for T. Higgins are not the Bears. I think this is a great fit for him. Because Justin Fields has a guide where if he's scrambling out of the pocket, T. Higgins also has a knack for getting into spots where his quarterback, i.e. Joe Burrow, can get him the football. So this would be this would make a lot of sense in a lot of ways. And, there's a lot of the places that T. Higgins could end up landing. But I really feel like the Bears could make a run because of the amount of cap space that they have and their glaring need for a big physical wide receiver, even though they have one in Colin Sexton. Don't know why they don't. But T. Higgins has speed to burn as well. That's the other thing. And he has this elite separation from the DB when he gets into what I like to call, he has this unique acceleration when he gets down the field. And, very well could go that route if they choose to go quarterback. And, yeah, I just think this is a huge push that they could make. And another thing that while I'm at it, the Bears could also, I know a lot of people would probably say, oh, no, don't do this. This could actually be one of those situations where they actually put the Carolina Panthers back in the first round and make a sign and trade deal with the Panthers to get one Brian Burns and pair him with Montez Sweat. This would not be a bad idea in my opinion. Now, here's the thing. You would only be able to get more than likely T. Higgins and Brian Burns and maybe a couple of small free agents on the side, because you still have to keep enough money to sign your draft picks. They would probably have to give up a first and a second next season to get Brian Burns. And what would probably give the Panthers back their second round pick that they've gotten in exchange. So in essence, it could be just an even swap. Could be a couple of things that take place here, or could they be that it could be a couple of smaller picks. But I think at the most they'll give up one first round pick, and Burns could be paired with Montez Sweat and Johnson. There you have it. And honestly, and that's if the Carolina Panthers sign him. I think the Panthers would be foolish if they didn't sign this guy knowing that somebody was going after him and pursuing him. You can't let a talent like that go. But if they do it, the Bears have the money to snatch him up. The Bears most definitely have the ability to snag him back. And honestly, I'm going to be truly, honest with you. These three, including Johnson, Burns, and Higgins, these could make a huge difference. The Bears could go from let's just say, all jokes aside, if they go with Caleb Williams at number 1, and they sign T. Higgins, and they're somehow able to get Brian Burns, and that still leaves them with their second pick this year. Now, what would be interesting is what they'd be willing to do with that pick. And honestly, what you could do is you could go in and you could get a guard. You could solidify your guard position. Now, as far as the tackle position this year, just really analyzing it, if I'm the Bears, you're talking about really good. Now, I will say this. I may have to pump my brakes on that a little bit. Let me just say this. This is probably one of the deepest tackle classes we've seen in a long time. Because you've got about 9-10 tackles that could go in and play significant football in the draft. All the way up until probably late second and third round. You got some really good tackles out there this year that can literally be starters. And that's not, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you got some sleepers out. No, you've really got some deep tackles out there this year. This position is really going to go deep into the first round. It's going to be a deep draft. I would say about 5 guys are going to go round number 1. And it's not because of the need. The talent is just there. And most of you guys know that the Bears have struggled at that position. Not the right tackle, but that left tackle position. And them picking at number 10, it's kind of a reach. Well, this is if they don't trade the pick. Me personally, I would say they keep the pick or possibly trade to the Carolina Panthers, barring that the Panthers don't sign Brian Burns. If they don't and they're able to get him in free agency, you keep this 10th pick and you take either Fuega out of Oregon State, or you could Fashanu out of Penn State. Most of these 2 guys have the opportunity to be there. We already know Joe Alt's not going to be there. We're pretty sure this guy's going to be here. Do you reach and get J.C. Latham? He's got the size. He really does. I will say this. But then again, you have to decide. Latham had a lot of problems blocking Jalen. He had a lot of problems blocking for Jalen Muro, a guy who likes to climb the pocket. So, with that being said, I don't know if he's going to be an excellent fit. But, however, it's one of those things where you just kind of look at the best prospect. I would say Fuego is the better fit pass blocking and run blocking wise. Latham was pretty good run blocking, but I think he would fit more along the lines of he would be more of a reach because of just based on what I saw. I think Fuega and Fashanu are the better players. I'm not saying that he's not that guy. He could be a sleeper, but I just don't want to reach for a tackle. And and I know a lot of people are gonna say, well, you could always turn him into a guard. Well, you really don't want to do that either. Not when you take a guy in the first round. But I think the Bears have a lot of wiggle room. I think the Bears have a ton of control over this draft and over this postseason, especially with the leverage that they have, the salary cap that they have. They've just got to make the right decision for their franchise. And I ultimately believe that it is going to be the departure of Justin Fields. The question is, how much capital do they get for him? And in my personal opinion, I would love to see them pair him with Marvin Harrison. But that's not going to happen. I think, when you think about the financials of it, it just makes sense here. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are feeling a type of way. Unless they can get Justin Fields to agree to a 2-year prove-it kind of deal. I mean, that's the only alternative I can see, you guys. That is really the only alternative I can see for Justin Fields remaining a Chicago Bear. And that's just the way it's got to be. But ultimately, that's what they have to do. They've got to make a decision on Justin Fields and weigh whether or not one of these quarterbacks presents a better future for them and a better financial future for them, and where these other pieces can fall. And I ultimately feel like if they feel like they can get a bunch of picks for this guy, or they can get more picks. I think that could be a thing. Can they get more picks for that number 1 pick? I think it's a huge thought process that goes into it. You don't want to give away your first pick and be left with the same position. But I also think it's going to be a position of which one outweighs the other. Because you got to think the Bears have not a bunch of glaring needs, but they do have about 3 or 4, obvious needs. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about what the Chi-Town Bears offseason is going to look like. As always, hit me up on my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo. Let me know what you guys think and how I can make things better. Also, hit me up on the Facebook page of the same name, Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Always appreciate your comments, you guys. As well as keep an eye out for the other things that Mr. CeeLo will be a part of. I got 2 new channels premiering really soon, you guys. Keep an eye out for those. I will give a shout out as soon as I get them ready. Just want you guys to know that I will be doing more and more of these off-season previews in the weeks and the days and come. If there's a team that you want me to hurry up and get on the boat with, hit me up on my Facebook page. Let me know what you guys want me to do. But until the next time, same Gab channel, same Gab platform.
But behold, there is a warm breeze that comes from the west. The blazing sounds of victory fuel their everlasting quest. It is a call to arms, for they are here. An army that has the will to challenge and the will to dare.